Absolutely love how much people are complaining about the Nintendo Switch 2 key cards because PlayStation fans acting like they didn't get Concord, which was the same thing, but way worse, because this game got canceled like a week into existence, but somehow a key card for the Switch 2 is the problem and not the overall arching thing going on in the gaming industry. It's like, it's not just Nintendo here, guys.
Hello everyone, Magbo here once again in Angry Guys channel. I hope you're all doing well. And if you want to check out my channel, you could check out Magbo Gaming. And if you want to see my video game collection, I recently uploaded my entire Nintendo Switch collection. Even though I talk bad things about Switch 2 and all that stuff, or negative stuff about it, I'm still a Nintendo fan through and through. I do love its game. It's just that I do not like their business practices. So I just want to be clear there. Also, you could check out Angry Guys Crypto Academy if you want to learn how to invest in crypto and know which crypto can help you make awesome gains in the future if you do enough research. Yep, we could teach you exactly what coins you should be investing in. And yeah, today's commentary, we're going to be talking about how the third-party Switch 2 games are failing. Is it because of the key cards? Is it because everyone's just focused on Mario Kart World? Why is Cyberpunk 2077 one of the best-selling third-party game out there? Could be that it's not a key card. Pretty obvious explanation right there, right? Yeah, anyways, I'm gonna be commentating on a series of clips here that I found on TikTok, and we'll see what the first person has to say about this.
Absolutely love how much people are complaining about the Nintendo Switch 2 key cards because PlayStation fans acting like they didn't get Concord, which was the same thing, but way worse, because this game got canceled like a week into existence, but somehow a key card for the Switch 2 is the problem and not the overall arching thing going on in the gaming industry. It's like, it's not just Nintendo here, guys.
Okay, so here's the issue we have here. Is that since people love Nintendo so much and Nintendo thinks they could get away with everything they do, you know, the key cards aren't gonna go away as quickly as Concord, but we are starting to see the sales coming in for these third parties. Future games for this year at least are still gonna be key card, a lot of these third party games, because, well, a lot of these third party developers, they see an enticement. Oh, this is key cards, we're gonna spend a lot less on the cartridges, so it's not a big deal because they could just download the game and stuff like that, when in reality, if the game was already on the cartridge, we would have just pop in the game and play it right away, right? Okay, let's see what the next guy has to say about the key cards hurting third-party sales.
Are Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards hurting third-party sales? While the Nintendo Switch 2 had the most successful console launch in history, third-party game sales haven't had the best luck. The #1 selling third-party title was Cyberpunk 2077, which had the full game on cart. Now, before you all say this is because of game key cards, internet discourse needs nuance.
So, a lot of people do assume that Cyberpunk 2077, since it was completely on the cartridge with all the DLCs included, they would assume that that's the exact reason why Cyberpunk sold much more than any other third-party game. But in reality, there could be other reasons deeply related to it of the reason why that's the case. So yeah, let's keep watching and find out.
Cyberpunk had cross-platform saves. Street Fighter 6 wasn't far behind while releasing as a keycard. So this actually mirrored the Switch 1 launch as well.
And here's the thing. Street Fighter 6 is a very popular game, but also this thing also has released on PS4, PS5, and Xbox. And of course Steam digitally too. And as far as I'm concerned, PS4, PS5, and Xbox versions of this game, their content, their game are completely on the disc. Yet, the game keycard one for Street Fighters was a game keycard. It was not on the cartridge. You have to download the whole thing. Why? I really do not know. But regardless, I can see why Street Fighters still sold on the Switch 2, because a lot of people love a good fighting game, especially on a portable handheld. especially when you can play with other friends online with the Nintendo Switch Online, I guess, too. There's a lot of factors going to it, so, you know, maybe that's why I sold. I mean, I saw some people buying Street Fighters on the Switch 2, but me personally, I would not support it, no matter what game it is, unless it's Super Smash Brothers, kinda. But I doubt that's gonna be a keycard game because Nintendo said themselves, their first-party games are not gonna be keycards.
Third-party ports didn't do so hot for the Switch 1. On a new console, the Switch 2 with backwards compatibility, most Switch 2 owners are instead enjoying their Switch 1 backlog of like 8 years that has been improved in some way. And the system seller, Mario Kart World, has an 80% attach rate, while third-party games had less than 5%. When you have a new system to buy, there's no way you can afford a new Mario Kart, Switch 2 edition ports, accessories, and third-party games all at once. So while some enthusiasts may skip out on a release due to the lack of a physical version, this doesn't speak for the vast majority of gamers in the digital world today.
So yeah, as you can see there, it could be that these third-party games are also focused on Mario Kart World, since when they see Switch 2, when they think about Switch 2, most of them are thinking about Mario Kart World, because every other third-party games that came out were also available on other consoles, like I said with Street Fighters earlier. So most people are just going to want to buy the Switch 2 because of the first-party exclusives, which is Mario Kart World, and then later on next month, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Those are pretty much the main reasons you would buy a Switch 2 in the first place, because like it would be kind of silly if you just bought it just to play those third-party games on the go, or the keycard games that's also on the Nintendo Switch 1 that's not a keycard game, or, you know, you get the idea that most of the third-party games are keycard and they don't own these games, because if you buy it and you don't have internet in your house and stuff, you can't play those games unless you install in the server first.
I do love touching a hot stove. Totally get why people are mad about game keys on Switch 2. It's completely in your right to think that if you buy a product, you should be entitled to play it no matter the situation you're in. However, for me personally, I think this is at least a happy medium versus the codes in a box that were pretty prevalent during the Switch 1.
Yeah, I remember there are plenty of games on the Switch 1, unfortunately, that had a code in the box and it has a plastic case. I just wonder, what's the point for these plastic cases? I guess for display that, oh yeah, I got it, but there's no physical cartridge, so it's like you don't got it. It's like me saying I have a case of any other games out there, but I don't have the game. So it's like you could display it, yeah, but can you actually play the game? Not really, unless, you know, you download the code. The code is only used one time, so, you know, at least the key card has that little thing that you could use it as much as you want, as long as you're able to connect it to a Switch 2. At least that's from what my understanding is.
Like, for me, beyond the ugly cover art here, when you're buying a GameKey game, you still get everything in here. And that's at least half the fun of me collecting physically. And then once you do the initial download, at least unlike a key in a box, you can actually pass this around. You can have other accounts download it. There's no penalty for redeeming a code once and then being unable to use it anywhere else. Also, full disclosure, once you do that initial download, you don't need an internet connection to play the game.
That is the argument that people would have about the keycard, that they're far better than download code. So, you know, I guess that argument is fair. But if there was an option for you to have the entire game on the disc, you could save the trouble and the time from downloading the whole game, which could take a while depending on your internet speed. And then after that, you're just going to finally, after a while, you know, yeah, you could play the game fine. You don't have to download again, just like a digital game is all good and stuff like that. But regardless, it's like, if there was an option for you to just have the game on the disc or on the cartridge, wouldn't that be a much better option than these key cards in the first place anyways?
It's kind of surprising this week to find out that a lot of the physical games that are going to be coming out for Switch 2 aren't actually real physical games at all. They're these game key cards where there's just a little bit of data on there and you still need to download the rest of the game online. I think for me, what this means is I'm just not going to buy these. If I'm going to go to the trouble to buy a physical game, and I do like to do that, I'm going to want the thing that's going to have the full game on there. This doesn't really feel like a physical game.
Oh yeah, and in case you guys don't know, this guy right here, he was a former Nintendo employee arguing about the Nintendo Switch 2's key card. So him and Krista, they're not holding back against Nintendo Switch 2 anymore. If they were still working from Nintendo, they wouldn't be saying any of these things right now, trust me. So the fact that there are former employees, they're gonna say it how it is, how they feel about it, and they don't have to worry about any repercussions. Because as a YouTuber yourself, you have more freedom of speech than when you were a Nintendo press guy like Doug Bowser and stuff. I'm pretty sure that if Doug Bowser clicked Nintendo today, and then next week, we see Doug Bowser actually say what he really thinks about the Switch 2 and arguing about it, just like Reggie Fils-Aimé did. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, because this is what Nintendo presidents and CEOs and stuff have to abide by. They cannot say anything bad about the system, or else they're gonna destroy their brand. So, yeah. Just let you guys know that this guy's a former Nintendo employee.
Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now.
At all, and it actually feels like a worse version of either buying physical or just buying the thing straight digital. That said, I do see why a lot of companies are going towards this option. Switch 2 is a more capable system, which means that the games are going to be bigger in size, and you need to have a bigger storage medium to be able to hold them. The Switch 2 is not using discs of any kind. It's more of an actual physical chip-based thing, so you do need to pay more if you have a bigger game to put it on there. Nintendo is the one company that has the inside track on actually making physical games because they're producing at a huge scale. It's their system. They have a lot of reasons to release actual physical games, whereas a lot of these third parties, they don't want to take on that additional cost. It may not make sense for them to raise the price of their games. So for them, maybe this is a good option. The one big third-party option out there that we've seen is Cyberpunk, and they're getting a lot of positive feedback for actually putting the game on a 64 gigabit game card.
Exactly. Just as I explained earlier, the reason why Cyberpunk is well received on the Switch 2 and is getting good sales is because, for the most part, and it's pretty obvious, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because that third-party developer chose to actually have the whole game on a 64 gigabyte cartridge, I believe. And yeah, with something like Cyberpunk, you need like a 64 gigabyte cartridge or more, or I don't know how much it actually filled up in space on the PS5 or PS4. You can let me know in the comment section below because I haven't checked that. But from what I understand, this game, Cyberpunk 2077, was able to fit in a Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge. And it's still pretty graphically impressive on the Switch 2. Maybe not more powerful than PS5, but you get the idea.
Me flashbacks to the 90s where developers got frustrated with Nintendo sticking to physical media and jumped ship and went to PlayStation where they could produce it very cheaply on a CD. These days, games are so expensive, they can't really choose to be exclusive to one platform or another. So this is just kind of the solution that they have for now to be able to release the game on the system. If people continue to be upset about this and they don't buy them, we may end up with some other sort of solution. I'm kind of looking at this honestly, and I'm feeling like my physical game collection, unfortunately, for the Switch 2 is going to be quite a bit smaller than it has been for a lot of previous systems.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my Switch 2 library in like 5 years, by the time I own a Switch 2, hopefully, yeah, it's definitely not going to be nearly as big as my Switch 1 collection, which has over 120 something games on it. So, you know what? If you go to my channel and you see my entire Switch collection, you're gonna see that I own a lot of games on the system. I don't think that same energy is ever gonna be replicated on the Switch 2, no matter how long I got it afterwards. If the case is that the majority of the games in the future are all gonna be game key cards, it's gonna be like a physical cartridge with nothing in it, and I'm like, I am not gonna support the practices. And you know what? It seems to be working because it seems that third-party games are struggling on the Switch because most likely it could be the key cards. There is more evidence on this here that we're about to watch.
Struggling. They're struggling. Their third-party games are struggling. You know the reason why? Because they're all ports.
So yeah, the key card's not the only reason. Ports, yeah, that's another reason as well. For example, Sonic X Shadow Generations on Switch 2 is a game key card, while the Switch 1 version is completely on the cartridge. So, which one would you prefer to get? Well, obviously you get the Switch 1 version, right?
Is licensing and certain things and a whole bunch of technical jargon of the reason why the ports don't work. So, only thing that works is the first party games, Mario Kart World, stuff like that. So it's kind of difficult for them to even get the games on it that they want. So, how is this going to look for Switch 2? May not have a lot of games on there.
Switch 2 keycards are killing third-party sales, at least according to the headlines, and it's clickbait, so let's talk about it. Now, I've been clear that I'm not a fan of the keycards introduced by Nintendo, but I'm not willing to say that keycards are destroying third-party sales. Because what everybody's reporting is that the Switch 2 sales only have 40% of the sales go towards third-party, and the rest is basically just Mario Kart. And on the surface, that sounds really alarming, that majority of sales are one game and everything else is getting ignored. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you realize it's not that simple. To start, the original Switch only sold 20% of their games towards third-party, and everything else was the first-party games. But even that isn't that straightforward, because the original Switch had a hell of a lot less games, and a lot of the games were actually digital only, so there were less options. The Switch 2, on the other hand, only has one first-party game and way better third-party games, so the sales were obviously going to be higher anyway. That being said, the Switch 1's numbers come from a whole month of sales, and we've barely reached 2 weeks with the Switch 2, so the numbers just don't add up. What we really need is more time and more games to be sold with keycards rather than full versions on the cartridge. And even though I'm not a fan, I have to admit that it makes sense for third parties to use keycards, because some cartridges are just going to be too expensive for them to purchase, and we're the ones that are going to have to pay.
And you want to know why that's the case? It's because Nintendo doesn't give us enough option for developers to buy the cartridge that they need to fit their game. So it's rather a 64 gigabyte cartridge or a smaller, I think 8 gigabyte cartridge that can be used as a key card or something. I have no idea. The fact of the matter is that if you pop in a key card, you're gonna be told to download the game. The game will take a while to download, but the whole game is actually gonna be stored on your Switch 2 system, not on the cartridge, unfortunately. So this means that since those key cards, a lot of those games are not going to fit in this cartridge, then they have to use your system in order to fit it. So in time, your hard drive space of 256 gigabytes is going to quickly fill up, and you're going to have to buy even more accessories, an express SD card, in order for you to put more stuff, more games on the memory. So yeah, that's gonna be more expensive for you to be able to store more games in the future. That's why I like physical media. That's why I prefer them being on the cartridge, because you don't have to worry about space issues with physical cards that you just insert, because the whole game is on the cartridge, not on the system. The fact of the matter of everything I just said is that I'd rather go physical media, because the games are on the cartridge, they're not on the system. So meaning that if you get so many key cards out there, the storage capacity of your Switch 2 is going to fill up very quick. You have to buy an express card. You have to spend another almost $100 for the express card, because those are the only type of SD cards that works on it. And then after you keep building up your collection of key card games, more SD cards, express SD cards you'll have to buy. So yeah, that's another problem with the key cards as well.
I don't want to have to keep paying $80 for every single game. Truth of the matter is, nobody knows. Anybody who's blaming the keycards is doing it as clickbait, because we don't have enough information. The Switch 1 sales were actually worse for third parties, but the Switch 2 release is actually bigger, so the numbers don't really add up. And we won't know until more companies are using keycards for their sales, and then we can see if it's actually harmful. What do you think? Are keycards going to be the detriment to third-party sales? Let me know.
So yeah, just saying right here that it's still too early to know for sure if keycards are really going to affect the sales. But as we see so far, they're not off to a good start. So only time will tell to see if Nintendo is going to decide to continue with the keycard business, or they're going to give third-party developers more options for storage on the cartridge. Not just 64 gigabytes. It could be a 32 gigabyte one, it could be a 16 gigabyte one. not just 64 and 8 gigabytes. So there's not much options. And then lots of third parties like, oh, the 8 gigabytes one is super cheap. Let me just go get that. And every time we sell third party games, we could sell at a big profit for each sales. Yeah, we're almost done here. Let's finish it up.
On like hotcakes. Units are literally flying off the shelves. People are excited for the new hardware, and in terms of sheer interest, Nintendo's riding high. But here's the twist. Apparently nobody's buying third-party games, and that's not just an opinion, that's actual sales data. So what's going on?
Okay, yeah, as you can see that the third-party games are not selling. Yeah, I pretty much proved my point right there of what's going on, but only time will tell, like I said, to see how it's gonna go on the long term, like how sales are gonna affect in the long term. Now let's finish up with this funny video right here that I just found. I just wanted to do it for the laughs and stuff.
36 price for Mario Kart Real for Switch 2. I know it says Vaseline, but we're gonna try it. What do you think?
So yeah, what you guys think? That last video, oh wow, imagine if they honored the price of Mario Kart World for $1 something. And then, yeah, how much was it exactly? I'm just checking real quick. $1.36. Oh boy. Imagine that. I will be buying every single copy of Mario Kart that is priced that way and resell it. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's what I would do. I will keep one of them and then resell the rest. And then maybe use that money to buy my actual Switch 2. Because, well, Walmart makes mistakes and sometimes they slip up and stuff like that with the prices. And sometimes, because of this economy out there, you just gotta take whatever opportunity you can find out there when it comes to that. Take advantage of this because, you know, I cannot blame people for doing that because imagine that. Yeah, Vaseline on the Switch 2 section is kind of strange, but sometimes some retail stores does this mistake. They scan it the wrong way, I guess, and people were able to get away with it. I mean, I've seen people getting away with buying Nintendo Switch 1 games for super cheap. I remember they were selling like Xenoblade Definitive Edition, the first one, for like under $10 for the price because they were on clearance, I believe, too. But yeah, that's pretty much all for the video. What do you think of this commentary? Hopefully it's good enough and it makes sense for this entire video that I showed, the compilation of several TikTok videos. Do you think that game key cards are going to last long after this year? Or will Nintendo have to retaliate and not use the key cards anymore and give third-party support more options for storage? So we could have more cartridges coming out that is, you know, we can have more games coming out that's actually in the cartridge. Like I said, only time will tell. I hope that you enjoyed this commentary. Feel free to check out you guys' Rumble accounts since there's a lot of censorship here on YouTube. If you want to have more freedom to say what you need to say, Rumble is the place to go. So check out Angry Guy there, this channel as well. And check out my channel at Magbo Gaming if you want to check more videos about me talking about my game collection, visiting gaming stores, and all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy my channel. Check it out. And I'll see you all in the next one. Magbo Gaming out. Peace.